And welcome back to episode 2 of In the Navy, the podcast. It's got myself, Boof. I'm the acting host this week, and I've got my good mate here, Holshy. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Boof. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a few days post last Thursday, so I'm feeling a little bit better now than I was Thursday night. Sorry.
It feels a little weird without our little friend in the middle.
Yeah, the little fella. Where is he?
No, his daughter's crook. So Goldie, hope Em's okay, and you're back next week because everyone misses the host.
No, we need you, mate. We've had a couple of runs at this so far. We're about 48 minutes in of just trying to get the intro, and we finally got through it. But we are here to talk about the Baggers. Holshy, you were down there.
Yeah, round one. Goldie and I made the trip down from Townsville last week, and a great week. Just everywhere you go, see an AFL, paraphernalia, the talk, and when we got there, 88,000. I think it was the third largest round one game ever.
I think they were saying that throughout the game, so that would have made the atmosphere pretty special.
Yeah, no, it was great. It's funny, like it was a Richmond home game, but the Blues matched it on every level, the Blues fans with the noise. And, particularly where we were sitting, a lot of Blues fans. So for me, it just felt like, almost a home game for us.
Because there was a couple of mates as well that were already down in Melbourne that went along with you guys as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we ducked for a few quiet frothies before the game, and we actually went to the VFL hit-out before the match as well, which I'll talk about a bit later on. But yeah, look, the MCG is a special place. Round one, opening game of the season, and in the end, like it didn't disappoint. I thought.
Very good. We'll probably get through more of as you said, the VFL and how we thought the actual players went. But the initial thoughts post the game, being there, the final siren goes 58-58. How are you feeling?
It's such a weird feeling. I was at the 2010 grand final between St Kilda and Collingwood when they drew, and I remember how bizarre it felt then. This obviously wasn't anything to those levels, but I guess on the back of Lakers nearly taking the mark and, these little chances that we had to potentially get ahead by 7 before Lynch kicked, and then essentially we didn't get that last roll of the dice. It took a little bit after the game to sort of let it process and realise if it was a good or bad thing. To be fair, I thought Richmond played better than us. It took a few hours later, but I kind of felt okay with it in the end. But it's one of those feelings. It's draws. A lot of other sports don't allow it. Yeah. So I guess it's going to be another discussion point.
Well, it's been a talking point for years. I remember the 2010 grand final. I was in Melbourne myself, and because I had no vested interest in the game, I went, just let them play for another 5 minutes, just sort it out. But, they went back and played the following week, and probably the right team won, unfortunately, then. Myself, after the game, I was watching at home on the couch with the wife, and I kind of just sat there for 5 minutes and just try to process of what just happened, and it took a while. Went to bed, slept, and woke up the next day. Still woke up, so we still got the 2 points. We're sitting in Richmond's spot at the moment, 9th on the ladder. Hopefully down the track, these 2 points actually, they might put us ahead of another team. You don't know. It's a long season.
Yeah, we may not have to worry about percentage this year. It probably won't come down to that.
Just come down to points, luckily.
Yeah. So how did you feel? We, played during the game. Like, obviously, Friday night we had Collingwood and Geelong, and it was a blockbuster. Like, it was amazing. Our game was a lot more defensive orientated. What were your take?
We definitely tried not a massive change to the game plan. I still think we went with the same stuff as we did last year. We're definitely very attacking when the ball's inside our inside 50. We do like the press up a lot. Unfortunately, that then puts us in the same boat as last year. Richmond being a quick team, that rebound, they kick it over the top, and you've seen it multiple times. Shea Bolton, he was just able to get the hands out, and their rebounding off the 50 was too good for us. But overall, I thought we were good for a first proper hit out. There's definitely some good signs. We'll talk about the ins and outs later, but yeah, we definitely missed that number one tap, Ruckman. I thought TDK was good around the ground, but we just at centre clearances he got over the top and that sort of stuff at times, but I definitely missed that second ruck. But very positive signs from the boys. I liked our forward setup. But the best thing is we didn't come out at round one and play our best game all year. We've got a platform that we can just continue to build on. I think we're only going to get stronger and stronger as we go on.
Yeah, my big take, I think, was what made me happiest was the effort was there from the get-go, and the effort through the 4 quarters was there. We weren't polished, and we didn't use the corridor much, I found. I watched the game again today, and you could probably count it on one hand the number of times we actually switched play through the centre of the field. So not a lot of risk in this first matchup. And I just noticed, and it's a little bit of a worry because it reminds me of Carlton a couple of years ago. We're hacking the ball forward a lot still. Get the ball, panic a little bit, let's just kick it forward. And in particular, even coming out from our kick-ins, we were getting hemmed in really savagely in that we just could not confidently or in any sort of process take the ball out safely. They forced us to long kicks continuously, and their backline, full credit to them, they matched us up to the point where it was coming back at us 3 out of 4 times. Yeah,
their speed was quite good out of the backline. We probably went tall because we thought we'd have them for height, but that backfired a little bit for speed. Again, though, if Pitt was there, you'd like to look towards a big fella that you're kicking it out to, and unfortunately TDK just got outbodied a lot throughout the game, and I know his bold prediction that he's going to be our number 1 ruck by the end of the year, and it started that way, so I was technically right, but we definitely missed him.
Yeah, I was going to say that exact thing with the kick-ins. We need a Pitney there. Like Nankervis was one that they used for them to, when they're in those pressure forward line situations from our side, they would kick to a Nankervis, and even if the mark wasn't there, you knew it was going to go out of bounds, and they'd get a new stoppage, and the stoppages around the ground benefited them. So yeah, I mean, we'll get to the ruck discussion, but I think we'll sharpen it up, and I don't know how it looked to you when you watched it live, but I think also the MCG turf not being sort of at the standard it should be affected. The ability to run this
wasn't probably a greatest decision by the Victorian government, but unfortunately it was the same for both teams.
Yeah. In the end, we were very lucky, and Richmond were lucky that no one had the injuries that happened the next night with Tommy Stewart and Sam de Koning. That was something that we got out of it. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So
never want to see blokes go down like a Tom Stewart or Sam de Koning, but if they miss 1 week, I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, they can both have 1 week off. But yeah, poor old Jeremy Howe. That's that
was not pretty to watch, and I can't even put myself through to watch the replay of that.
No. But yeah, well, let's just talk about the rucks. So we went in with just TDK.
Yep.
And after watching it again today, I was actually quite impressed with TDK with a lot of his work around the ground, and it was really noticeable in the centre bounce when he had that ability to take his run up and, use his leap effectively against Nankervis. More often than not, he did get it first hands to the ball. And I think we actually won centre clearances.
I think we did win centre clearances.
Like 10-6 or something.
Didn't win the hit-outs.
No.
Nanks had more hit-outs than TDK, but that also includes around the ground and stuff as well. But I really like the look of TDK running and jumping. He gives us that athleticism. And then his groundwork as well is something I'm really impressed with. Is if he can sharpen up his tap work, that's what I think he's may finish the year as their number 1 ruck. But we definitely need a crisp, classy ruckman, and that's Pitt.
Yeah, you look at the style of ruckman we're up against, Nankervis. So Nankervis is a he's a very physical ruckman, a big-bodied ruck like a Sam Darcy.
Yeah.
And that is where TDK, it doesn't matter how, well, it does help with the skills, but over the next 6 months, he's not going to bulk up much more than what he is now. So I watched most of the game that Grundy and Gorney played.
Yep.
And they showed how the two ruckmen can be played successfully. It might be a little bit more difficult on our side because we do have more tools.
Yep.
But it will not surprise me in the least if Pitt is in there, potentially to be used mainly for those stoppages around the ground where it's body on body when the ball goes up. I think we missed him. I think if Pitt played that game, we win.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I had Pitt in my side last week. I had him as a starting ruck last week, and we all did. And it was a bit of a surprise Thursday night to open up the phone and see he's named as an emergency. I don't know if it's the body.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we said last week, we're not down in Melbourne. We're not involved in day-to-day stuff at the club, not as much as others. But, we haven't really seen an injury report saying, he's not quite right. He had the VFL hit out and he looked all right there. You got along to that as well?
Yeah. So he did look good in the VFL hit out and he played the majority of that time. I did read someone comment stating that after the VFL practice match the previous Thursday, he did pull up a little bit sore.
Yeah.
So, Vossi did state that he was the most impressive part about the side going in on Thursday night is everyone was at 100% fitness. So potentially that's all it was. Maybe there was just that little bit of element of doubt that Pitt wasn't quite where he needs to be, and he just thought, well, let's give him another week.
Round 1, it's not round 23 when
that's right.
We need a win to get into finals. It's round 1. We got plenty of time throughout the year, and to get away with the 2 points is better than 0.
Yeah. And we will be a better team when Pitt comes in.
Oh, 100%.
You watch Cripper and Hewitt and Bam Bam and these light tykes.
Just feed off it.
It's gonna really take us, well, not to a next level, but it's going to definitely help us around that contested stoppage play. So, should we maybe just work through the players?
Yeah, we'll go from the back line there. You've got the list in front of you. Let's who we got up first?
Okay, so first, and Lewis Young.
Oh, solid game, you reckon?
Yeah, pretty good first up.
I thought he played unreal.
Yeah. Look, Jack Riewoldt pretty much was shut out of the game by Lewis Young, and I think what impressed me most was his ability to intercept mark, because last year he was quite good at intercept marking, but he was more a tend to spoil first player before he was sort of that risk-free, okay, I'm just going to make sure that the forward doesn't touch the ball by spoiling it. But he used his body so well. It surprised me. A lot. Yeah. It was incredible. So I was really impressed with everything he did. He still had 7 turnovers, which was probably his only blemish. But apart from that, his effort, his body work, and his ability to nullify, one of their best forwards from the last decade.
He still had 20 touches as well. I was looking at the stats here. He had 20 touches and 14 of them kicks. So getting that use out of the back line as well. If we can get him doing that every week, it's just going to free up our smalls, our Sardis, and that to be the kick to the half-back line, and then just the link-up would be unreal. So who's next on our list there?
Before we go on to the next one, also 14 intercept possessions from Lewis Young, which is amazing. Next is Weeders. I thought he had a pretty solid match. What do you think?
Yeah, it's what you expect from Weeders now. Unfortunately, he's set the benchmark for himself pretty high because how good he's been the last few years. So I thought he had when I say standard game for him, I mean he still had a very impressive game. I think his standard is what we expect all year. And if he plays like that every week, it's going to go a long way for us playing finals. I thought he was quite good down back, especially in a low-scoring game. Obviously, both back lines have played all right. So I thought Weeders and Youngie, especially Youngie, was probably two of our better down back.
Yeah. End of last year, after Weeders came back from that injury, I know we said in the first episode he didn't quite look like himself for the remainder of the season, but it looked like the confident Jacob Wiedering that was there Thursday night, stand his ground, making a lot of big plays. He had to take, obviously, their best forward, Tom Lynch, and Tom Lynch probably still could have kicked 5 or 6. He got 3, and one of his goals was pulled back because Nick Newman got a touch on it.
Yep.
And he also was a little bit wayward. So it's such a tough one with Wieders because he's always going to have that number one target, and he's always going to be judged on how many goals that forward will kick. But when I rewatched the match today, there was a lot of other 1%ers that he always does. Yeah. And I thought he had a really good first up game. It sort of settles my confidence with how he finished last year, and I feel like his year is going to be, back on that All-Australian track.
Yeah, I reckon so as well. He'd probably be one of our most hard-working key position down back. His just work rate is unreal throughout the whole game. You don't really see him just going at 50%. He's always at that 75%, 100% effort rate throughout the whole
and
game.
An organiser too, leader. So
it would be hard down there to be a leader because there's a few, which is a great sign for us.
Yeah, it is. I think we've got the right blend. And when you talk about leaders, our next one we're going to talk about who needs that type of personnel is Lockie Cowan.
Yep. I was wrapped with this young fella. And I said last week I got big raps on him. I love his mongrel. He doesn't care who's got the footy. He's going to go at you. He's just going to go get it off you. Unfortunately, he was subbed out. It does say injury. I tried to do some research before. I can't find if he's got an injury, and we're doing this on a Monday. So the injury list hasn't come out yet, but I don't think if he wasn't injured, I don't think he deserved to be subbed off. I thought he was playing quite a good game with his attack on the footy, couple of kicks down the ground. He's got a little bit of work to do on his kicking outside of the rebounding off the 50. As I said before, we seem to panic, and that's I've seen him do it probably maybe 2 or 3 times where it was just a big kick down the line, wasn't really to a target. So if he can bounce off Wieders, bounce off Youngie, and then that half back line as well that we'll go through in a sec, he could be really good.
Yeah, I think the best thing for him was just to get that game under his belt.
Yes.
He doesn't take a backward step, and I think that's the type of fullback that we want there. Well, not fullback, but back. So he only had the 7 touches, but he had a lot of great moments where the hard ball get was required, and he came in and basically took it to a stoppage or got that ball out. I just think first game ever, Richmond 88,000. It's a big occasion, and I thought he was fine.
I got here. I'm just reading through my notes as we do it. It's got him on my phone. I'm not as prepared as I should be. So his tackle on Bolton in that first quarter, he absolutely crunched him, and I was like, I love this kid.
Was that when Bolton ducked?
Yes.
Tried to duck?
Yeah. He absolutely smashed him, and I was very, very happy with that because, one, I'm not Bolton's biggest fan, and I hate this ducking thing, and I'm glad the umpire's seen it the exact way he should and play on.
Yeah. No, I hope Vossi keeps giving him the minutes, and he'll develop. You got to give these guys time, and it's good that his body's ready to go now. So let's just get the minutes into him. Mitchy McGovern.
Oh, brackets. I was okay with his game. Probably not as impressed as what I was at the start of last year. But he's also just coming back as well. Obviously, the key injury last year, he probably wasn't as influential as he has been in the past for us, but he's still got that nice intercepting mark. I have to change back to my app here with the stats and that sort of stuff, but I know he took a fair few marks. And then it was more not just a mark by himself. He took a couple of intercepting marks as well.
Yeah, 9 intercept possessions.
Yeah.
So. I was actually really impressed with him. He made lots of little fundamental skill errors in his catching and his footing. And I know when you do those things, they're so noticeable.
Yeah.
Fans are like, jump on it. They're
it's
like,
a hard game, isn't it?
Come on, Mitch. And to be fair, he should have took those. But his positioning is already where it needs to be. And I think once he gets that, and we know, like, normally his hands are very clean.
Yeah.
I can't. I think he changes the whole dimension of our backline, and we'll be able to move that ball on from intercept possessions a lot more quickly than say a Lewis Young.
Yeah,
because he's going to be that roaming interceptor, and he is one of our few players that can get that ball and redirect it, switch play, corridor movement. I agree that his skill fundamentals was down, but he hasn't played for obviously round one. He made some errors. Everyone makes errors, but I feel like Mitch McGovern is prime for as long as he doesn't get injured. I think he's going to have a huge season.
And with him, Youngie, and Weeders down back, if them three stay fit, we're a big show.
Yeah.
Was it 13 pressure acts as well down back as well.
Yeah. His effort was there. You could
21.
see his effort was there. And that's where everything starts. So
he's got to keep him fit and keep him around again next year as well.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, Doc.
Oh, the leader. The spiritual leader of the club. I know Cripper's got the big C next to his name, but Doherty, especially in that back six, just leads the pack so well. I thought he was outstanding. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I thought he was close to best on ground. If Lewis Young didn't have that immaculate sort of breakout game, well, not even really breakout, but I think his best game in his career, Doc was best on ground. His reading of the intercept mark when they had numbers and his ability to come across and cut those intercepts off was huge. He made some great tackles. Yes. He made a huge one on Dusty in the last quarter where Dusty tried to fend him off.
Yep.
And he just smashed him down on top of him and then pilfered the ball from him. I thought Doc was brilliant. The only thing with Doc sometimes is he was also like, he'd get the ball and he actually would have a little bit more time than he thought, but he would just bomb it forward. And I love seeing Doc when he's actually trying to hit up a target. So, but having said that, that was across the board with the whole side. But apart from that, I thought Doc was excellent.
And there's just something about a round one Sam Doherty goal that is just special.
From 65 out, yeah.
Wasn't it a big kick?
Oh, and when he took the mark, I think it was Jack Graham pinched a metre and a half.
Yeah, he did.
From where he actually marked the ball. It was horrendous. Like, it was so obvious right from the get-go, and yet these four refs, no one picked that up. And he just went, oh, fuck it.
I've been looking on social media to see. I know they did it last year when he kicked his goal with the Titanic music behind it. I'm trying to see if someone's done that. We might have to look into that.
Yeah.
It was just something special again. I'd love Doherty. He'd probably be one of my favourite players at the club. And he was very outstanding. Who we got next?
Okay, Sardi.
Oh, yeah, I think it goes without saying the Wolf is great. He was really good down back. His run and carry, his rebounding off 50. Disposal efficiency was quite good. And if we didn't have him back there, I think we'd be missing a key cog with rebounding off our defensive 50. I can't see who in the side at the moment has his run and pace and ability to kick 45 metres whilst at full pace and be normally pretty accurate.
Yeah, he was outstanding. He did make probably 4 or 5 errors that a couple of them were a little bit costly. One where the ball came across, instead of getting down to pick it up, he'd stuck his foot out and it just went straight past him. And another time where he was running it out for possession and tried to bounce as he was getting tackled. So that he had a few little blunder moments, but he's still, to me, the most impressive, as he's one of the few in the whole competition that is always at close to 100% speed, but the skill level doesn't deplete.
Yep.
But the most impressive thing for me at the game for Sardi was still his shutdown speed when balls are kicked to an opponent that off him, and his ability to just get there and get that hand out and shut down the play. Look, Sardi is going to be another star all year. I'm super stoked that he looks like he's 100% fit.
Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with his game as well.
Ollie Hollands.
Love it.
Yeah,
love
him
it
so much.
Oh, massive fan. Even there was one part there where big Toby Nankervis, he tackled him, and Ollie just bounced straight back up. And I think in the back line, was it Tom Lynch had a go at Ollie.
Yeah.
And the two big boys just went, no, that's our Ollie. Get off him, and had a go at him. I was really impressed with his game, though, just going back to him. He didn't look like a debutant. He looked like he's played a few games already, and that's what I love. Him and Cowan both look like, although being their first games, look like they've had that experience and look like they had played AFL before. So him going into the future is going to be very, very handy for us.
Yeah, 20 pressure acts, and I also believe he had the most kilometres run during the match.
Yes, he did.
I think obviously he's got a very slight body compared to a lot of other players in the AFL. So, that's something that inevitably always going to get better. I just thought his effort, the big play with the crossover to they're launching to the 2-on-1 with Lynch and I don't know who the other Richmond player was, but Hollands was able to win it out the back and clear it. So he's an effort player, but I think even his disposal efficiency, I'll just quickly check, 70%.
Yep.
So, I thought for his first hit out, brilliant, and he's going to be playing in that position for the next 10 years, hopefully.
He did only have 11 touches, but of them 11 touches, it was the work either before or afterwards that really impressed me because you can't just get 11 touches by just getting easy ones out the side all the time. You're going to have them outside players, but he actually wanted to go get his own footy. He wanted to be in amongst it. As you said, he's got a smaller stature. Once he has another off-season or two, he could be our lockdown winger for years to come.
But at the game as well, I noticed the ball was predominantly on one side of the ground, on Blaker's side.
Yeah.
For the first half anyway, I just remember sitting there going, gee, I wonder if they're ever going to be able to use the space out the other side with Ollie. But anyway, no, great start for him. Patrick Cripps.
Yeah, who's that bloke? Does he play for us?
Yeah.
I was happy with his game. It wasn't a normal Cripper game. He probably didn't have as big of impact as probably what he personally would have liked as well. I still think he was quite good. Looking at his stats, he's had 25 touches. Disposal efficiency was only 68, but he had the second most pressure acts as well, 20. And that's what you want from your big-bodied skipper in the middle. You want him just attacking the footy. You want him putting pressure on the opposition, and because he won't have to be someone that locks down an opposition player. He has to be locked down by someone else. I was impressed with his game. I think he's still got a long way to go back to where he was last year as a Brownlow medalist, but can't get votes in every game.
Yeah, look, he also had the most tackles in the match, 6 tackles. I thought he was brilliant, but in a sort of under the radar way by his standards. He still had a lot of touches in really big congestion because he's always going to get more attention than anyone else. And he's still probably one of the few players we've got that can, have someone hanging off him or 2 players hanging off him and still get the ball out. So he's essential, and I guess his impact wasn't as noticed, but that's Cripper. He just is all effort, and next week he'll probably come out and tear.
Probably have 35 and kick 3 or something.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a few tags during the year, but he's really untaggable anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I reckon if you ever cut him, blue would actually come out. He bleeds blue that much.
Yeah. Okay, Blakers.
Yeah, happy with. He's going to get better. He is going to get better.
I thought he looked a bit rusty. Watching it again today, there was a lot of skill errors. So I don't think it was anywhere near his best game. Physicality-wise, he looked good. When it gets to the one-on-one contested posies, etc., I think he's going to be a great find for us. But there was still just a lot of off the ground and both aerially and off the ground where he was fumbling a lot.
Yeah.
So once again, game 1, you forgive that, but I think the best is still to come with Blakers. I think he had honestly, I thought he had okay game. Wasn't great.
I was happy with it. He's had 16 touches, 10 of them being kicks. Disposal efficiency's down a little bit. 5 marks, 9 pressure acts, 2 tackles. They're just the key stats that I look at. As a wingman, you want to be that link-up player. So once we can work out our rebound off 50 a little bit more, and instead of having that panic kick, maybe look to that winger, I think he'll come into his game a little bit. He was probably not let down by the back line, but definitely he'll bounce off them throughout the year, and as you said, he's only going to get better.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the... Oh, so we went centres. Anyway, so half forwards. Yes. Ed Curnow.
I love him. I love the guy so much. I reckon he's off work, off-field work stuff with the media is fantastic. However, I probably wouldn't have picked him this week. He had a bit of a stinker.
Yeah, look, Ed was my favourite player for a number of years. I still love the man. I would still love him even if he wasn't playing footy, of course, though. His kicking skills were horrendous.
Yes.
I think I watched it again today, and I think he had 2 kicks where he hit his target successfully that I remember, but I also remember 5 or 6 that just were nowhere near the right spot, or they were clunked. They were clangers coming off the boot in the wrong fashion. He is fit. He was still the second most kilometres run during the game, and he's great in that ability. Did he have a lockdown role?
I was going to ask you the same question. I don't think he really played much of a tagging role, and that's at his age now, and probably the use by a foot. He probably just needs, if he's going to play as a tagger, and if he's that half forward tag and a half, like if he wasn't playing for us and he was playing against us, you'd put him on Adam's side. You'd have him tag the best rebound footballer because of his speed and his agility. You'd have him do that, but I don't think he really did that. I thought he might have went to Daniel Rioli, but I don't think he did.
Yeah, look, I suspect he may not be in the team this week, but you know, we're not the selectors. We're not behind the doors with Vossi and the crew and seeing how they're training. But I just felt like he was a little bit out of place in that team for our balance. Having said that, we haven't got to our small forwards yet, so there's probably not much between them all. But anyway, I just thought Ed had a pretty average first-out game. He hasn't played for over a year.
Yep.
So, you know, who knows, but maybe some time in the VFL just to sharpen up again with the foot skills might be the way to go before he plays too much more AFL footy. But I love you, Ed. I love you. Okay, Zach Fisher.
Oh, I love the guy again, another bloke, but I just don't think he had as much impact on the game as he normally would. Last year, as we spoke about last week, he played more of a higher role. He was getting through the guts and that sort of stuff, and I don't really think he did that much the other night, and I thought he was, for a while there, he was very quiet. He wasn't noticeable, and last year you noticed him around a lot of our Cripper going in, or one of our bigger bodies going in, getting it out to fish, and then using his speed from that centre to be in that kick in, because normally he's pretty good by foot. He's that nice left penetrating kick into a Charlie or a Harry. But no, I didn't really see that much from him this week. I wasn't really impressed, but first hit out, he did kick a goal.
First goal.
And he's, 7 touches, disposal efficiency, 71. So he's had 1 mark and then 3 pressure acts. 12 pressure acts. So, yeah, a bit quiet on Fisher's normal standards. Just got to work out what role he's going to play. If he's just going to be a half forward, if he's going to move into the guts, or
he actually had a very good first quarter, and then he sort of just disappeared completely. Yeah. The first quarter, he was finding space. He became that link-up player, and he also obviously chipped in with that goal. And I remember sitting next to Goldie, because Goldie gave him a little bit of flack, and I said, "Oh, there you go. What did you say about Fisher?" And then we basically didn't see him again. So
he went missing there late.
Yeah, so I looked a little bit stupid by the end of it. But, I don't know. He has these moments of, like, he has got the skill set, but you need someone that's going to be able to contribute 4 quarters, and unfortunately last year and this year already, it's shown that he often goes missing.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, Jack Silvani.
That's a hard one. Again, it's another bloke that I think Jack is probably my favourite player in the side. I do love my JSOS, but yeah, very quiet from his standards. And last year when he was playing in the ruck, and how I want the year to end, or how I see the year ending is TDK and JSOS being them rucks. But I think Thursday night showed that he's not up to it, and we're going to have to go with the 2 rucks with Pitt and TDK and just leave Jack to do what he was drafted. Just be a forward. He's got great hands. He's got a great kick. Just let him do that, because he got found out around the ground as well by. He only went up against their second ruck as well. He only come into it when Toby went off, TDK had his rest down for whatever, and Jack went into the guts and only went against their second ruck, and he still didn't look up to it there. So I thought he was okay. Kicked a goal, only had 5 touches, 2 hit outs. It's not what you want as a second ruck. You want to have more of an impact down forward.
Yeah, last week on the episode when we were discussing the Pitt and A TDK thing, and I said in that episode that Jack Silvani has this ability, but whenever he plays as that second ruck, I always notice that his impact from a forward perspective just depletes down to 30, 20% of what he's capable of. And Thursday night, to me, it looked exactly that same way.
Yeah,
he started the game on fire. He was, in there competing, took that awesome mark, kicked a goal. But then as soon as, if we're working him that much through the middle of the field as well, and, he's one of those players where you probably don't want him on the bench too often, because we've got midfielders and the running types that we want to be rotating through there. So Jack, he's buggered. He's in the forward line, and he's a bit like Harry in that he has got really good running leads to take those marks, and it's hard for him to maintain that if he's also sort of roaming around the ground, matching up against other physical bodies the whole game. So we'll see what happens, but I'd love to see him get a chance there with the 2 rucks.
Yeah, don't want to give any spoilers, but I reckon we'll see that this week.
I hope so.
But congratulations also, Jack, on your 100th game. So that's 3 generations of 100 games for the Sauce family.
Yeah, legends, all of them. Jack Martin. Geez, we're getting a lot of players that we didn't see a lot of during the game.
Probably should have went the opposite way. Went from the forwards to the backs.
Yeah. Okay, Jack.
I wasn't really impressed. I don't think he had much impact on the game. The skills weren't, what he can be. This guy's got so much potential.
Well, I don't think he even had a chance to display his skills, because he didn't get his hands on the ball.
Oh, and he touched it
six times.
Six times.
Yeah, he's such a skillful player. I'm a massive fan of Jack Martin.
Yes, you are.
But, man, to go out and have that game, I saw him at different times when they were coming into our forward 50, and he was floating around, and I wasn't sure who he was marking or who he was trying. There was no leads. The ball going both directions. It didn't look like he was hunting the ball at all.
Yeah.
And he's the type of player that can produce those 1, 2, 3 goals for us each game. But 6 touches, and, there was full quarters that we didn't even see the bloke. I can't help but feel he would be the perfect sub. Because he can play small, he can play tall, and then he can come in and just give a burst.
He could be a massive impact player, you're right, but you're just forgetting that we have the best sub in the competition just waiting to come back.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can just have a go there till Cottrell is back.
Yeah. So. No, I know you're a massive Martin fan for us, and I hate the word potential. I think it's one of the worst words when you're talking about footballers. They're either good or they're, going to get better. It's not, this guy has potential. And that's fortunately probably what Jack has. He has the potential to play a really, really, really good game. or his lower end of the scale is probably close to what we've seen on Thursday night, and that's probably no fault of his own. We don't know game plans, like we said before. We're not sitting behind the closed doors, coming up with how we should be playing. We're just normally three blokes from North Queensland that love the club, and if they want us down there, hey, Vossi, just give us a ring. I'm sure you're watching. We'll come down and give you a hand.
I think Jack will play this week, but
yes,
I think if he puts another performance together like that, with Durden coming back and all the rest of it, I think he may be looking at a sub role or VFL hit out. But anyway, Charlie.
Yeah, well, this is what you expect of Charlie. What did he kick 3?
Kick 3. Struggled to get his hands on the ball early. He struggled to get his hands on the ball most of the game. There was a few times where I think he deserved free kicks.
Yep.
Sort of people hanging over him as he was trying to take the ball. But to his credit, for the limited opportunities he had, he took those opportunities.
Yeah, he made them all count.
And to me, that's what makes him so special. It's, he's still, with the very little amount of ball in hand, he still had a huge impact on the game. And obviously gets the ball to ground when he can't take it. Look, I think Harry, who we're coming up to next, is going to kick more goals still.
Yeah.
And I think Harry played the better game. Harry scaled the ground a lot better. He was marking the ball beautifully. His kicking was a bit off. We might as well just talk about both the blokes together then.
Yeah, we may as well.
And I thought Harry, he slipped over a number of times on the turf, but he looks clean. He looks clean, and he's one of the hardest working forwards for the lead.
Yep.
And when he's in front of a defender, no one can stop him taking that mark if the ball's put in the right spot. Whereas Charlie is just a freak in different situations.
He'll take that pack mark they can't stop him, but he's more likely to take a pack mark where there's 3-4 blokes around. But Harry's, whereas if he's got 2 meters on you and the kick's okay, you're no chance of stopping him.
Yeah.
I thought Harry and Charlie were both, and this same for both teams as well. The game seemed a little bit less umpired on Thursday night for my liking. My thoughts, as in there was a lot of jumper pushing arms around the body, and even they put their hands in the back to brace themselves and take the grab. A year ago, you couldn't even touch the bloke on the back, or it's in the back. Sitting there Thursday night, there was a few words going around, and
they'll change. The AFL focus will change so quickly. Next week, they'll probably all be paid.
Exactly. There's no consistency, and I don't think 4 umpires has really helped. I actually think it's made it worse, but that's a completely different topic.
But no, look, Charlie and Harry are going to be fine. They're going to kick a mod, so just need that not to hack. Like, I just don't like them just bombing on their head all the time. Like, Harry looked good when we had him in the leading into the ball. We need to get back to that. We've got the ability for these guys to run, make space for each other, but I've seen us when we're on, and that happens.
Yep. And
unfortunately, last week that just wasn't the methodology. TDK.
Yeah, I've touched on him a little bit already. I am a big fan, but he was out-bodied by Toby pretty much all night when it come to anywhere besides the centre bounce. His hands are still really good around the ground down forward. He made a bit of an impact there. He took a nice couple of grabs. He was around the ground. He was taking some nice grabs, but any time that Toby was close enough to him, he was just out-muscled, out-bodied. But what I like is in that centre clearance, as said it before, if he gets a tap to it, or if Toby gets to it and the ball goes to ground, he's an athletic ruckman where he can get down below his knees, grab the footy and give it out. So there's a lot of upside to TDK, and I really hope he does sign before the end of the year, and we're not at that debacle where we don't know if he's staying, and we might, as we spoke about last week, do we have to play him to keep him and all that sort of stuff. But I think the teller I think he played all right. He didn't have I don't think he had a bad game He still had 24 hitouts.
Yeah, look, he played well. I'm not going to go on too much more because we've already spoke about them a lot. But I honestly think with his style of play, we can afford to have Pitto and him playing.
Yep, and JSOS.
And JSOS, yeah.
All three.
Georgie Hewitt, Warrior.
Yeah.
As usual. You get what you see. Every week, you just know he's going to not take a backward step as well, just get the ball in his hands and essentially give us those clearances.
Yeah, in and under, hard at it, just his work rate's unreal.
Just no fuss.
No.
He's I love him. Adam Chera.
Yeah, don't want to give too many spoilers away, but we do have a 5-4-3-2-1, and it come down to a couple of blokes, and Chera was one of them, and I thought he had a really good game. He's probably a bit unlucky. This is a spoiler now, but a bit unlucky not to be in our top 5. I thought he played really well. His ball use wasn't too bad at all, actually. I thought it was quite good. I just talking about all of them in this positive aspect, it gives me so much positivity for the rest of the year, and being round 1, get away with the 2 points. I think this really sets us up for the rest of the year with these blokes now had a hit out in front of a massive crowd. They're now learning to play together with the new ins of the 3 debutants we had for the club on the Thursday night. Chera's after last year, and I think it was a bold prediction that he might get a All-Australian this year by someone last week. So, I mean, if he keeps playing the way he did on Thursday night, then I can't see why that can't be true.
Yeah. No, look, Chera's going to be a good one. Similar to last year's, a lot of things people won't notice. On Thursday night, he had the most pressure acts of the team, 21 pressure acts and 10 contested posies. So, mate, he's going to be another one of those reliable types, but it's good because he's a little bit different to the Bam Bam / Hewitt in that he's more sort of around that skill-based where there's a little bit more room. So, but yeah, he's still very physical, and I just love that 5-6 years ago we just didn't have any of these really physical players apart from Cripper, and now all of a sudden we've got a whole engine room of them. So, next is we'll just move on to Kennedy. From those, since we had Hewitt and Chera there.
Yep.
So I was so impressed with Kennedy when I watched it again. Once again, he's one of those guys you may not notice as much as he deserves, but in the thick of it, the number of times he got it out for clearances was impeccable. He's just a hard nut. Once again, no fuss. He is exactly what you get, and I thought he put in a really solid game. He was a bit quieter near the end of the game, but generally speaking, I thought his effort for the 4 quarters was reasonably good.
Yeah, I was happy with his game. I'm a big Bam Bam fan as well. Sounds like I'm a fan of every bloke in our side, which is true, but I love his physicality. In and under type footballers are what makes me excited. Like these blokes that stay on the outside and get these easy kicks and that sort of stuff doesn't really excite me too much. I like these Hewitts and Kennedys and Crippers.
All right, we've got 2 more small forwards that, they're listed on the interchange here, but we might be able to talk about it at the same time. Motlop and Owies. So I think both these blokes got 10 posies.
Yeah.
And of those 10 posies, 5 were turnovers for both of them.
Yeah.
I thought Motlop was more impressive, even though Owies did kick a goal in congestion. But at the same time, Motlop in the last quarter, I saw him twice ball watching. The ball went to a Richmond player 5 metres away, and he sort of just stood there, started jogging over to him. Then he realised, I really could be putting some pressure on him. And in the meantime, that Richmond player had enough time to then find his target and hit him. So he's still, I know that was one of his issues last year, and we said, he'll get better at that, and I'm sure he still will, but it is still a concern. When you've got a small forward in your team, you want them to harass all game long. And even Owies was renowned last year for his pressure acts. Like he led the team. I think he led the comp at about 2/3 of the way through the season, and he only had 9 last night, and that may very well be because we were hemmed in to our half a lot.
Yep.
But just really didn't see enough of him. I noticed Motlop more in the open play, but both were pretty quiet by their standards.
Yeah, I preferred Motlop's game over Owi's. For a note in the first quarter I had was Motlop's work up the ground was actually quite good, which is probably not where we want him playing too often. We want him closer to goal and being at the feet of the big blokes, but I actually thought his effort up the ground was quite good in that first quarter. He then did die off a little bit throughout the game, but if it come down to both of them this week at the selection table, my name was Michael Voss. I'd be picking Motlop instead of always just off their two performances this week.
Yep. Okay, so lastly, Nick Newman.
Yeah, I'd be honest, I didn't really notice him too much, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing as a backman.
Yeah, I wasn't. It was about 2/3 of the way through the first quarter, and I was like, "Is Newman playing?" And once again, it wasn't whether that was a good or bad thing. I was trying to assess who he was actually marking.
Yeah.
Whether it was like a Cochin or I'm not sure, but he didn't do. The stats show that he didn't do a great deal wrong. But once again, just you don't. He's one of those players. I noticed all last year, people were like, "Oh, get rid of Newman." I'm like, no. He's just does his job.
Yeah.
So I'm really not sure if he had a great or shithouse game, but he did get that touch on the Lynch goal, which potentially kept us in the game because at that stage they were on a bit of a momentum streak. So Newman, I think you stick with him, and he's another one of those leader types that when it gets a bit dirty, you don't mind having him in there.
Yeah, he plays again this week in my side anyway.
Yeah. But ins and outs?
My in for this week, I've only got the one change. I've got Pito coming in, and I've got Ed Curnow going out, or Owies. And that just depends on what the club is thinking as in tag-in role-wise this weekend, because this is probably playing Geelong. Might be a week that we need maybe a tagger to look after one of their key defenders. If it's a Zach Tui or something like that, I see Zach Tui snuck forward for them last week.
Maybe with Tom Stewart out though, maybe we don't need that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because Tom Stewart would be one of those types as well.
Yeah,
but
it'd be an interesting. I'd probably have. I'd be going Pito in, Ed Curnow out. What about yourself there, Holsh? What are your changes?
Definitely Pito in. And I'd probably bring in Corey Durden too. If they said he was close to 100% last week and they rested him, I would be looking to get Durden in, and I would take out Ed Curnow and Owies.
Yeah, we have to be careful 1 week if we say that we're going to have Curnow out. The comment section could blow up.
Yeah, but no, I think if Durden's fully fit, he brings pressure and goal sense.
Yeah.
Which are the two things that we need at the moment, because we're depending on those two tall timber way too much.
And if we get the big fella back in, it will, as we said before, it will free Jack up. So our forward line could be quite handy, especially with the Tom Stewart out and potentially SDK being out as well.
So, that's really all for today. The only other thing I was going to mention, watching the VFL practice match last week, for those that didn't see it, I thought Jack Carroll looked exceptional, running the ball hard. He was everywhere. Paddy Dow played immense again. But once again, I don't think he can come into this team unless it's for the correct role. And he's going to be a fine backup, but he's still nowhere near the standard of a Hewitt or a Kennedy, etc. in my eyes. But I think Jack Carroll is probably close. Like he will only play in the case of injury, but I think he is reducing that gap to AFL standard. Kemp, I thought played okay. His leap and his positioning and everything was excellent, but he dropped the ball a lot. When he actually was dominating the player with what his setup. But generally speaking, it looked like Kemp was looking quite good too, and Pitto looked really dominant in there, but he always is going to look dominant in a VFL scratch match.
He'd be worrying if he wasn't.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much it.
One final point from me. Are we rich after our bets with mates last week, or how did we go? How many green ticks?
So you'll get the second bet this week. We won't talk about the first one, but
can we, please?
Yeah, okay. Boof got the only correct leg right.
Yes, I had Kerno for 2+ goals, and I was the only one to get it right.
Yeah, I picked Chera, only got 21 touches, needed 25, and Goldie tipped us to win 1-39. So
he was off by 1.
Yeah, he was off by 1 point. Nah.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in and watching. All we do is we ask that you like and subscribe on YouTube. We are called In the Navy Podcast. It's been a pleasure having you watch, and we can't wait to see you next week. Go Blues.
Go the Blues. See ya.